Today is about these small babies. These babies are called broad beans and they are dried broad beans, and usually, even in Turkey, most of the people don't know how to use them. They are the basis, for example, for falafels. But at the same time, we do something called fava, which is like this jelly-like consistency. It tastes very much like an avocado, but cheaper, and you can eat tons more.
And it's one of your favorite dishes.
It's one of my favorite dishes. But at the same time, we can make hummus out of this. Broad bean hummus from these dried ones or the fresh ones is very nice. And also from my mother's town, Cyprus, I also have a dish, incredibly easy to do. So I wanted to include 3 of them, and I'm going to cook just one pot and make those 3 dishes from that, so that you get the idea of like what these broad beans can do for us. Here I have about 500 grams of dried broad beans. I washed them so they're a bit sticky. In some countries they are this color actually. So, but these are all same, so you can do this recipe with those black ones as well. To this I'm going to add a liter. When I put this in the casserole, we have this finger measurement in Turkey. 1 finger past the broad beans. But I'm going to add a little more, about like 400 milliliters. So 1.4 liters of water is here. 2 fingers pass. Yeah. If you don't have a pressure cooker, it has to be 3 fingers. So about 1.8 liters of water would be sufficient. So, sorry. To this, I'm going to add a bit of salt, which is 1 heaped teaspoon of salt. I have 2 onions, they're quite small, so I add 2 onions, but normally if they're a bit bigger, 1.5 onion would do. I'm going to add half them and add it in the water like this. This will give it nice taste. And broad beans have, like, when cooking, and therefore some people don't like it, have a weird smell, and it like takes feet. That like feet, she says. When the pressure rises, cook about 4 minutes, and that will be enough. Of course, it will depend on the fava broad beans itself, but it will probably be enough. And if you're cooking on a normal pan, see that the broad beans are becoming soft, but they still didn't lose their individuality. Now, I'm going to take the pressure off. So, there are several ways to take the pressure off. One is putting it under water. Hop. Now, yes. As we can see, the beans still have their individuality, but easily breakable like this. Now, I am, with a bit of water as well, getting some of it here. Now I'm first doing the hummus one. I'm going to add 2 garlics, a little bit more salt, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of tahini, and 2 tablespoons of oil. A little bit lemon also. I think like this, it's really the same. I really don't know whether you have this at home, but it's really handy and it's really good for preparing dishes, making great soups. Please write, let's say, I'm from Sri Lanka and we have it in almost every home. I'm from Bangladesh and I have never seen it. I don't know.
Instead we have this.
Instead we have this, yeah. So that I get to understand what you have in your houses, guys, so that I use those or not use those. Last time we made it in the food processor, now I'm doing like simply in a blender. So, this is ready.
That's easy?
Very easy.
It's easier than the chickpea hummus.
Yes, it is. In its own way, quite nice, quite cute. We have a similar recipe in Antakya, and they call this the cement. Because in the morning they eat this. It used to be between 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. People eat this and go to work because it's like the cement in your stomach. It keeps you full for a very long time. So keep in mind, because fava beans and the tahini keeps you full. By the way, in Turkey we don't have like the frozen green broad beans, but I know in Australia, in America, in England, they sell it. It's easier to find. So you can do this with not dried, but the green ones. It would be even better. I'm going to put a bit of olive oil, a bit of raw tahini like this, and red pepper. If you don't have red flake pepper, you can add something else. Always, all these things that I put on, it's really good to eat together with them, but if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. Think about, like, this is red flake pepper, so I have something a little hot, and I like hot, I can use cayenne. Bit of parsley. My own pickles. Ooh.
These are the ones we made?
Yes, these are the ones we made. Look at the smell, it's really nice. Oof. One like this, half like this, half like that. No? After we open the pickles, we put it into the refrigerator so that it doesn't go bad. Here we are. First one is done. I'm going to have a small plate and I have one garlic. What I'm going to do is make it on the plate. It's going to be a lot of garlic. Salt to the garlic and mix it like this. I'm getting the baklavas, the fava beans, like this, without taking the water. And to this, I'm going to add just this garlic. It's a very simple Cypriot recipe. It's garlic, olive oil to pass the flavors, vinegar, and always, because it's a Mediterranean recipe, a few drops of lemon juice. Mix this well. If you need a bit of fresh salt.
I think I never had this one before.
Okay. If this sits for like 10 minutes, it would be wonderful. So second one goes here. Third one is something we're going to do with the leftovers. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to write each recipe down below as if you're making just that one. Now this should still be hot. If it got cold, you should warm it a bit. Add a lot of olive oil, about 80 milliliters, and a bit more salt. And to this we need sugar, because in olive oil dishes in Turkey there's always a pinch of sweetness. So in this case, it's a teaspoon of sugar. Bahar normally doesn't like it. If you are against using sugar, it's also good without, like for example, when I do it for her, I don't add sugar, but to that perfect taste, it needs it. This is done all smooth. Because it's still very hot, it seems very liquidy, but as the Simiris, they call this a cement. When it's gonna get cold, it's going to be really hard. Any shape you like. I sometimes put it on a tray and cut it into squares later on, but now I want to make it like a cake. So I have this pot. I put some olive oil in it and make sure that everywhere gets its share of olive oil. I'm doing this for it to not stick, so I pour it in. By the way, I forgot to taste this. I could have added a bit more salt. The recipe might need to change according to different ingredients all over, so always taste it, and I'm sorry that I didn't this time. I needed to add a bit more salt. Now, for an hour, this should rest at least, or 2 hours actually, and then you should refrigerate it, and when it's really cold, eat it that way. And I have a small tip. This recipe is not my original recipe. It's a recipe from a friend called Yeşim. And when she first made it, she also put some rakı, which is, for Greeks, it's ouzo. Armenians, I think it's for arak. It has this anise taste, and with that broad bean taste and anise taste, it's a really interesting thing to do, and I love her because she discovered such a thing, and I respect her so much for that. So, here's the one I did yesterday. As you can see, it became really, really hard. You can use an ordinary plate. I want to show off a bit, so I'm gonna use the back of this plate so that it's going to have its dimension. But of course, when you're doing this, please do this, or an ordinary plate.
You need to cut the corners?
If it's a square, I need to cut the corners, but in this one, if I cut the corners, probably I will ruin the shape, so I won't. Bismillah, hadi bakalım. 1, 2, 3, hoppa! I'm not used to having a watch. Now it's counting my steps and the calories, so I cannot take it off, sorry guys. Are we ready? I've made this 1,000 times, I never did this with this shape, so we'll see how it looks. Whoa! Nice?
Very nice.
And on top of it, if you like dill, a bit of dill. So, something like this. So about in 20 minutes, we made this beauty. Simple. This is good with meat, just as a dish. Very healthy. All vegan as well. Very, very satisfactory. I forgot to tell, this one, you can eat it hot. In Antakya, where they make it originally, one day before, They put the broad beans, the black ones they use, they put in a copper container and they give it to the hammam. And in the hammam where they heat the water and burn wood and different things, it's very hot in the ash room. The ash room, külhan, it cooks overnight with the dim fire, which is not lit anymore, but what's left over the ashes. I want to tell a short story about this külhan. Hammams were all over the place in Turkey at the Ottoman time, and it was a place of reuse and making use of everything. And in the old days, when there was no municipality and etc., the small orphans would collect the trashes of people in the neighborhood and they will bring it to the hammam. The owners of the hammam would burn the trash in their hammam to heat the water and to be able to give the bath to the people. And as a return, they will sleep in the külhan, where the ash room is. This goes on for centuries. And then, when the Ottoman is decaying and the Sultan is losing power, these children who are living in the külhan becomes like the mafia of the society. And they are called Külhan Beyi. And they became these hard guys and they would have these small legends. And when we were small, we had these like things that I am the Külhan Beyi and I butchered my father, I butchered my mom and this and that. It goes on. When it is translated, it's kind of rude, but like when you're grown in that tradition, it doesn't sound that way. Anyways, these hammams were also used to slow cook some things. And this broad bean tradition is that old and it's still slowly going on. What we did it in the pressure cooker. And we did the opposite, we made it very fastly cooked. But still we kept all the juices and the smell because of the pressure cooker inside. So all three stuff, in 20 minutes you can make it. Now, the pickles are as good as the hummus. If you want the pickle recipe, there's a video, you can go from here or here somewhere. Bahar. Now here comes this one. Don't eat it that much. This is the first time she's trying this one, huh?
It's really delicious. And different than hummus, definitely.
You would miss this as much as you would miss hummus. This reminds me of, because of the garlic and the olive oil and vinegar, the shrimps in the fish fry.
This is the first time I'm trying this. And I wasn't expecting it to be this good.
Yeah, you should definitely, guys, try 3 of these. Here comes the diva. Whoop. Fresh olive oil would always be good. So, this you can eat it like that. Bahar, you know this by heart, so... But I want to surprise you again. And what I'm going to do... add this. I bought this when I was making a research and project for IKEA. This is dried onions. This is like going crazy, but I wanted to show you where it can go. This is the crunchiness and the sweetness together. Normally, sometimes we make it with onions and we call it tekmilli. Red onions and a bit of dill on top. But without its simple taste, I love the simple taste. This is blessing and a curse, so take the blessing part and don't question the curse. Çok iyi değil mi? For now, this is it. These are the 3 recipes done under 20 minutes. Hope you like it. If you like it, please press like. That's how the word spreads, and your support means so much to us. And write a comment below. That's also another way of support. I am reading all those comments and trying to answer all of them, so that, like my hand last week I had a problem, so Bahar forbid me to write for 4 days. I will use computer and go on. So goodness will win. Take care. And this is the goodness as well.
That will win that.